doesn't have to be much. But you got to make that 20% of your sales, those people recognize how important they are to you. They are the ones that are keeping your business afloat. And you better know who they are, and you better know how to contact them. And if you don't, get on the phone with them, figure out some way, go meet them, something or another, get their email address, something or another, figure out a way to get to them. They are your bread and butter. 3 other ways you can get sales. Increase your sales, get more customers. We all know that getting a new customer is more expensive than keeping an old customer. So unless you got a lot of money to invest in new advertising, I'd rather see you invest that advertising or that promotional time and money into that 20%. Get your customers to come more often. That's where that 20% can come. How do you get them back more often? Figure it out. And then, the key, get them to spend more every time they visit. Heard somebody the other day talk about they were buying some apples or something. Got up to checkout, and the checkout lady said, "Do you have enough?" Thought about it, maybe. Went back, got some more. Salesperson said, "You think you've got enough?" Darn if he didn't go back and get more. No one was making a judgment. No one was hard twisting his arm. Just asked a simple question. Have you got enough? How can you apply that to your business? Just a simple question. You don't want someone to leave without enough apples to make their apple pies or whatever. Do you have enough? Figure out what you can do besides when people check out and have all the candy and all the magazines and everything else at the grocery stores that we hate. What else can you do to get people to buy more when they do come? And particularly your good customers. What can you do to get them back in more often to spend more? Second way for cash flow. You've got to get the money in. So you maximize your inflow by a couple of things. If you have a credit policy, if you're billing people, net 30, net 15, and 2% interest thereafter, set it up, put it on your invoice, and never waver from it. The minute you give somebody an extension, they're going to tell somebody else, and you're in trouble. It's your credit policy, and you need to stick with it. Go on.
Negotiating with someone. Don't do that.
You negotiate with your vendors. Don't let them negotiate with you. No. Do listen to people, because these are tough times. But basically, you've got to have a credit policy. If you're billing people, you've got to have a credit policy. And basically, your hard line is you're sticking to it. It's the only way you can run your business. If you're issuing accounts receivable, get yourself an aging schedule. If you don't have a computerized accounting program, but if you do have one, it'll automatically give you an aging schedule. You've got to know what people owe you. You've got to know how much money you can expect this week, next 30 days, whatever another. You've got to know that. Don't hide your head in the sand and pretend like, they'll pay me. Yes?
You just mentioned a real problem with small businesses. They're not only your customers, they're also your friends and your neighbors. And so one trick is, for somebody who's overdue, is to blame it on the accountant. My accountant says I have to call you. That way you're just, the nice guy and just pretty. And somebody else is forcing you to call them and ask for that money.
Well, and there's also another way to do it. this is something I hadn't thought of either. It's a new one on any of my presentations. A follow-up phone call. Did you receive the invoice that I sent out last week?
Or the statement.
Before it's overdue.
Yeah, well, before it's, just, all you're doing is saying, did you receive? I thought there might, I mean, I heard there was a problem with the mails, did you receive it? You are asking them, you know, did you get my invoice? Okay, now I know you got it, so okay, now you know, I expect you to pay it. But, you know, it's just a little follow-up phone call. I mean, and then you're not even being the bad guy at this point. All you're doing is saying, did you get it? You know, and you're making them stop and think, well, maybe I shoved it under my pile, you know, and they've got to dig it out. But a simple phone call, did you receive it? And that's not negative, it's just a simple, did you get it? Again, part of that, setting up your aging schedule, you got to know when that's doing. And then, if people are late, maybe instead of a phone call, who knows? I mean, it depends on how you like to work. Maybe the letter saying, you know, hey, overdue, here's our credit policy, call me. Chances are they're not going to call you, you're going to have to call them. That's the reality of people. Okay, so you got money coming in, all right. How can you kind of minimize your money going out? Well, it's the same kind of thing again. What do you owe? Do you have an accounts payable schedule? Do you know when things are due? I hate it when I get a bill that's not on the 15th and not on the 31st. It's in between, and it's like, always got to remember that one. Are there do they offer you early discounts? You know, 5% if paid by. Well, you know, figure it out. Don't just look at it. Figure it out. And figure out, well, you know, if I paid that now while I've got the money, I can save myself some money. So is it worth it? So again, look at your bills and see if people are offering you discounts. And if you know you're going to be behind, it's like everything else. Negotiate with your vendors. Everything's going to impact on your credit score somewhere along the line, folks, so be careful. Negotiate, be upfront. Don't wait till the last minute. Same thing, if you owe the bank, tell the bank. The IRS, you can't, well, IRS, get yourself a good CPA to negotiate with. But everything, you know, at least be honest. You know, can I wait till next week? And then make sure you pay it. Be honest with people. And I mean, we're all in the same boat here with our economy. But be honest with people. Maximize the money coming in, minimize the money going out as much as possible. Then, for those of you that have got inventory, and I see some sitting back there, how long does your inventory sit until it is sold? And do you know? Now let's think about this. You order stuff, comes in, you get their invoice, payable in 30 days. Ooh, I got 30 days, I got to figure out how much of this do I really have to sell in 30 days to be able to pay this invoice. You got to know that. How much of this stuff, tires, whatever, do I have to sell so that I can pay this invoice? Because on the other hand, if you're billing somebody, and I'm going to pick on Ron Brown over here, he's putting on a new set of tires that he's buying on credit from his tire company, and which is, what's the tire company? Bridgestone. See, I knew Bridgestone. Good company. Okay. He's buying the tires from Bridgestone. You know, they're giving him a little leeway in terms of when he has to pay. He's putting him on a fleet vehicle. He bills somebody. But the tires came in on September 15th. They're due let's say October 15th, didn't put them on the fleet vehicle till September 20th, so they're not really due until October 20th. So he's got like 5 days in there between when he's supposed to pay for the tires and when the money's coming in for this invoice. So what's happening is he's really extending credit to somebody because he's got to pay the bill. So you got to figure out how to figure this all out, because you cannot keep using your money to pay for stuff that you've already got. If you've got inventory, we have all been in stores. Same inventory sitting there no matter, I mean, it's like, excuse me, folks, that is old stuff. If you haven't marked it down to 25%, 50% off and moved it, you've already paid for that stuff, I know, and it's still sitting there. You are losing money. Now, ice cream's going to melt, so they're going to have to have a liquidation sale at some point. You know, hey, they'll invite us all down for a liquidation sale at there you go. Oh, haven't thought about that. Okay, all right. But if you have inventory, you need to know how long it's going to sit there before you have to pay for it, because otherwise you're losing money on this stuff. And if it's not moving, then mark it down and get rid of it, because you are losing money if that inventory is not getting sold. All right, forget inventory, because a lot of people don't even have inventory. But anyway, if you do, a very simple way to figure out cash flow is, and talk to your accountant, are you going to use cash method or accrual method for your accounting system? Now, if you've already made the designation with the IRS, forget changing it, because that ain't going to happen with the friendly IRS. But talk to your accountant about, is there a difference that makes an impact in terms of your financials, your tax return, and is there something that you might need to do differently? All right, we all got little gaps, whether it's at 5 days or whatever. So how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to finance our little gaps here? You know, you're going to pull out your wallet, pull out your personal credit card, go further in debt, impact your personal credit. You're going to bootstrap by trying to figure out how to stretch stuff out, calling vendors. Or you're going to try to go to the bank. And I don't have any answers to the new legislation, folks, I'm sorry. Wish I did. The banks will tell you, with all the legislation came new regulations. I believe it. However, that doesn't mean they aren't sitting on money. They should be lending it, getting it out here. Maybe all you need is a simple line of credit, particularly with the holidays coming up. And I say simple line of credit. The bankers are, any bankers in here? I didn't see any. Okay. You know, and we always tell people when we're meeting with clients, you know, go where you're currently bank, because they know your credit stuff. They ought to be able, you know, they want to keep you as a customer. Screw that. If your bank isn't going to be friendly, go to another one. Shop around. I mean, excuse me. There's some banks out there right now that, you know, just are not cooperating. So forget them. Shop around. Find somebody that will. I mean, sitting 5 months waiting for a loan is ridiculous. Excuse me. Okay, number 7 for improving cash flow. You're making, hey, you got a little extra money there. A little profit. Let's have a celebration. So what are you going to do with it? Going to pay down debt, that loan. Going to invest in some new equipment that could potentially bring you in more money, more sales. Going to stick it under the mattress and wait for an emergency. Oh, we're not hoping for not another winter like we had. Then again, if you're a farmer, you know, this drought has been killing us, right?